Welcome to the Chai Academy. For those who are familiar, this is a course, classes given quite often. We try to give it 4 times a week, and we focus on different material with Jewish content. So the previous class, we began giving a primer for Rosh Hashanah. So the idea is that Rosh Hashanah is coming, and Rosh Hashanah, of course, is probably, if not the one of the most important days of our year, because God judges the world then, us, and the rest of the world. So therefore, and so that's how the idea was born, to give a primer, because you wanna know what get your thoughts in order, get your attitude in perspective when you walk into synagogue, or when you sit down with and think about your year, your upcoming year, etc. You don't want it to be rushed and disjointed, and you want it to be cohesive thoughts. So the class yesterday was basically what's priorities, what to pray for, in my opinion, of course. And these are I think universal. It's not just a Jewish thing. I think it's universal concepts. So today, in continuing with the philosophy of Rosh Hashanah, to help you understand the enormity of the day, so we'll be delving further into Rosh Hashanah. So first of all, yes, it's written in the Torah that the first day of the 7th Hebrew month should be Rosh Hashanah. The question is why? Why? It's the 7th month. It's not the first month, first day of the first month. So it's funny. We have a new year for months, but we have a new year for years. So it's the first day of the 7th month is Rosh Hashanah. Now, it's not random, because we're taught that God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th. So Rosh Hashanah, essentially what we're celebrating, is day 6 of creation. What happened on day 6 of creation was the creation of man with emotional intelligence and the ability to choose freely. Everything until that point that God created was either was from the mineral kingdom, earth, zinc, or the vegetable kingdom, which is plants and etc. Or the animal kingdom. So the animal kingdom, on the 4th day, God created on the 5th day, God created the fish and the birds. On the 6th day in the morning, He created the rest of the animals. And then finally, the last, right before Shabbat, God created man. So essentially what Rosh Hashanah is happy birthday. So it's not happy birthday world. That anniversary is 6 days earlier. It's happy birthday man. The 6th day of creation is the same day as Rosh Hashanah, and it's for that reason. So a birthday, any birthday, right? Whether it's your we're not talking about kids, but whether it's your 20th birthday, or your 30th birthday, or 60th birthday, or 90th birthday, and even younger than 20. A birthday is a day to celebrate another year, but it's also a day to reflect. It's also a day to put your thoughts in order. Resolutions, right? Where was I weak? Where am I weak? What is my strong points? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What have I pushed off? What is it that makes me lazy? Um, am I short-tempered? Am I not short-tempered? Patience, greed, jealousy, anger, whatever it may be. And on a birthday, you're supposed to reflect and resolve. The birthday of the world is exactly the same thing, except it's globally. So human beings are not necessarily Jewish human beings, but human beings need to reflect. This is your birthday. This is the anniversary of man's creation. Where is man? Can we improve? And what? How? Where can we improve? So, to me, the way I see it is that this past year, right? There were many gut punches this past year. Since March of 2020 and beyond, it seems like so many things have just fallen apart. Right? And yeah, we can blame a volcano, a hurricane, a tornado, earthquake on God, but can we blame dysfunction that human beings created? And no, we can't. We can't blame that on God. The blame is placed squarely on the human being. Either the human being that made this happen, or the human being that did nothing when it was happening, and didn't use their influence and power. So Rosh Hashana is a day to reflect not only about you, your birthday, your moving on as an individual, but also the world. As we read on Rosh Hashanah, Hayom Harat Olam. Today the world trembles. And remember, Rosh Hashanah, God sits on the heavenly throne. Does he sit? Does he have a heavenly throne? I always joke, there's the pearly gates of heaven. So the pearly gates of heaven was sold in order to keep up with the economy. So sits on a throne. It's all metaphoric and etc. But God judges individually, familially, communally, globally. God says, what have the human beings done to warrant my blessing? What have the human beings done that I'm displeased and I want to see improvement? And God has hopes and aspirations as well, because remember, we have free will. So even though God knows what we're going to do, it doesn't affect our decision when we're actually making it. Complicated thing. The way I explain that, by the way, is like a time machine. That can you imagine you can go back 3 days, and you know what's going to happen. You know exactly what's going to happen. So you go back and you watch it happening, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's the same type of idea. So God is looking, and we really have to do some introspection. Are we handling our world properly? I'm not even talking about global warming, but that too, I guess. But I'm talking about are we falling apart as a society? Have we reached stages of immorality where God is not going to be happy? And immorality can be objective, it can be subjective, and so that's what we need to think of. That's what we need to think of. And we're taught, by the way, that a resolution that we make on Rosh Hashanah, or on a regular day, or on any and every birthday, is not taken lightly by God. So even though we actually haven't, even though we haven't actually done something for this resolution, it's just in mind. But God takes it as a gift. Okay, the person's going to make a resolution, and I love it. I love it. Right? Donna, no, Rabbi Wernick is not around. Rabbi Ian Silverman is the rabbi of the East Northport Jewish Center. So, so yeah, a good and positive resolution. Now, because it shows your thinking. Remember, God, by the way, doesn't reward for results. He rewards for effort. Right? God is not result oriented. He's not at all. Right? That's not a value. It's not a Torah value. The Mishnah states it clearly. You don't have to finish your project. You just have to do your best. So make a resolution. What is your resolution? So you need to make individually a resolution. I'm going to be kinder to people. I'm going to create more domestic harmony in my house. Huge mitzvah, by the way. Domestic harmony. I am going to I'm going to give more charity because maybe I was stingy. I am going to, whatever it may be. I don't need to tell you what the resolution should be, but I'm just throwing out ideas. Kinder, gentler self. And there's also communal. I'm going to be more supportive of my community. I'm going to be involved. I'm not going to be a voyeur. I'm going to be active participant. I'm going to help donations. I'm going to help with Kaddish. I'm going to help curb nonsense in the town or in the school or whatever it may be. That's completely off base. And then there's globally. Or universally or nationally, whatever you may think, whatever. You can't be a voyeur there either. So, for example, Ben and Jerry's came out with their gross decision to just attack Israel, right, and just attack the West Bank of Israel, even though they're not concerned about Ukraine, they're not concerned about Russia and occupying Crimea and 7.2% of Ukraine. They don't care about that. Ben and Jerry's only cares about this little plot of land, which is not occupied. It's disputed. So if Ben and Jerry only care about that, it's wrong. It's immoral. So you have two choices. You can say, what can I do? Or you can say, no. I may not be successful, but I need to try. I have to write a letter to Ben and Jerry. I have to write a letter to my congressman. I have to write a letter to people on the board that I know, a friend of a friend of a friend. You can't just, you cannot let immorality fester and grow without some form of checks and balance. And once again, not every battle can you win. Right? Racism, you can't let it continue. Bigotry, got to stop it. You got to attempt to stop it, right? Anti-Semitism, right? You got to stop it. You got to stop it. It's not okay. There's talk recently. I read in the paper that in a certain section of Brooklyn, prostitution is back. It was, even though it was since I think Giuliani was mayor, got rid of prostitution in this section of Brooklyn, and it's back. It's not okay. It's not okay. And so, especially if you're a city resident, especially if you're a Brooklyn resident, but even as just a global resident, it's not okay. It's not okay. And therefore, that's a resolution. The resolution is, I am not going to be apathetic. I am going to be involved. I'm going to be active. I'm going to be a full-fledged member of my community. And I'm not just going to put my head in the sand. Now, there's no coincidence that it's called Rosh Hashana. Rosh, of course, means head of the year. It could have been called Tchilas Hashana, right? The beginning of the year. But no, the name that was chosen was Rosh, head of the year. And the reason why it's called head as opposed to beginning, because just as the brain in the head controls everything, the brain controls the eyes, open them, close them. Vision is in the brain. Hearing, senses, smelling, right, touching. It's all brain related. It's all brain related. And it is if somebody has someone has an aneurysm, brain aneurysm, they could die. If someone has brain damage and it's severe, where there's no just you kept alive by machines because you can't live. So the brain is the source of everything. Which, by the way, Kabbalah teaches us that the brain, the intellect, has to be the source of emotions. Emotions cannot be the source of intellect. So the head controls everything. Rosh Hashanah, likewise, it sets the tone for the year. So if you decide you're going to have a better year, then you've set the tone. It's your head. The head. You're a head and not a tail. You're leading with you're leading correctly with the eyes in the front of your head, and you're looking forward. You're not keep on turning around backwards to see how my year was. You reflect a little bit, but the most important thing is resolutions. The most important thing is to look forward. I heard a story recently about my father, blessed memory, and I didn't know this story. So in the early 50s, my father had a private audience with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Schneerson, just one-on-one. My father was in the Rebbe's room, and my father had prepared a thesis, 10 pages of writings. The writings were essentially what he had done this past year. I think it was around the high holiday time he went in. What the previous year looked like. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The Rebbe picked up his 10 pages, and the Rebbe read 3 or 4 lines. Rebbe took the pages and gave it back to my father and says, it's all irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. It's what happens next is what counts. Right? We, in Judaism, by the way, we don't get hung up on original sin. We don't. Right? We have very little time where we do confession and it's only to God, and a very, very little time. But otherwise, it's always positive. Looking forward, looking forward, looking forward. And here's an important proviso. When you take on resolutions to be better, do not take on too much. Because, as it says in the Talmud, tfasta meruba lo tfasta. If you take on too much, you're not going to take on anything. Focus in on one thing, one flaw. One. When you master it and you're in control of it and your head is in control, you got it, then you can take on the next flaw. But you don't want to tackle many fronts at the same time. Like the United States can't be at war in so many fronts, and Israel, when the miracle of the 6-Day War is they were attacked from all sides. That's why it was a miracle. So just tackle one thing at a time, and set the tone, the head of the year, with your head, and the rest will follow. One last thought. One may think that Rosh Hashanah is the most important day of the year. God is judging us, and God is we should be trembling, and as it says, right, the world is trembles, so we should have trembling, knees, and we should be we should have no appetite, and we should be fasting, and we should not go home to our families. We should not sleep those 48 hours. We should just be anxiety-ridden, nervous wreck. But we see practically Rosh Hashanah, no fasting. You're not allowed to fast. Rosh Hashanah, you have to have a celebratory meal. Rosh Hashanah, you have to spend it with your family, with your spouse, which is, you may think that's so mundane, but it's not. That's holiness. So Rosh Hashanah, you have to be normal. No one expects you to be in a scene, to be completely separated and sundered and severed from life. You gotta eat, you gotta sleep, you gotta pee, and you gotta compliment your wife, right? You gotta, you gotta. So Rosh Hashanah, you eat, you're happy, you're positive. You just made resolutions. God is happy, you're happy. And the old adage, growing up, we were told, if you cry for nothing, I'll give you something to cry about. The reverse is true, right? The flip side of the same coin is, if you're happy for nothing, then God will give you something to be happy about. So hey, you made your resolution, you didn't even do anything yet, but you're positive. This is going to be a good year, spiritually, mentally, physically, etc. So you have to set your mind to make resolutions, plan what it is, the one resolution. And you have to go in with a positive attitude. Once again, you can't just walk into synagogue and say, okay, I'm here, what next? You've blown it. You got to do a lot of catch up. Now is the time. Set your resolution. Get involved in your community. Get more involved in your family. Be active. Be proactive, not just reactive. And be joyous. Be joyous. So, by the way, the nothing thing is, okay, if you cry for nothing, give you something to cry about. If you're happy for nothing, God will give you something to be happy about. It stops at good for nothing, right? That's where we draw the line. You can't say I'll be good for nothing. A good for nothing is just that, a good for nothing. So if you have any questions, you may ask them here or send it to me privately, rabbi@thechaicenter.com. If you think someone could benefit, please share this or other classes that you can find either on Facebook or thechaicenter.com/academy. And pass on the charm, pass on the warmth, pass on the knowledge. Hey, to me, that sounds like a good resolution in itself. All right, any questions before I go? Comments, suggestions? All right, God bless. May you prepare well. May God bless you with clarity of mind to be able to prioritize what it is you need to do this coming year. All the best. Tons of love.